And so what I'm going to do is mute everyone, as you know, and I'm going to turn it over to David for now. So you'll need to unmute if you need to speak, please, David.
Yep, I've got it. Thank you, Julie. It's good to see everyone sliding in here at the final moment for our December Zoom and Tell. And tonight's program is going to be led by Jack Thompson, who has a really extended and deep knowledge of Cambridge candlesticks. I think when you collect something, you really dive into it and know a lot of the fun details that a lot of us don't, who do not collect candlesticks, may not know. So we're looking forward to that this evening. So, Julie, I'll come back at the end and we'll talk about January Zoom and Tell. So, looking forward to tonight's program.
All right. Thank you, David. So without further ado, we're going to let Jack take it away.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Thank you, David. Got a couple of things I want to kind of go over before I start showing some things. One is just the magnanimity, whatever the word is of this subject is, it's big. David and I talked at length about this for a while about how to divide up the category. I mean, it just candlesticks, candelabra, candelabrum, the whole thing. And so we kind of decided on this to do the one lights tonight, and then in later programs we'll tackle two lights, then three lights and above. And then finally, at some point in the future, we'll tackle the candelabrums or candelabra, however you want to say it, things with Bobaches. So, and there are a lot in each of those categories. I mean, a lot. Give you an idea, Cambridge, of course, was in business from 1903 until the late 50s, 58, 59. And in that short time period, they produced 234 different candlesticks. That's a lot. And you take those 234 and you think about that, and so many of those were produced in different colors. Many of those were produced with different decorations, such as etchings, such as cuttings, such as enameling, um, satin, frosted, you name it. We're talking thousands of possibilities here. So when I go through what I'm going to show tonight, I'm going to show a little over 20 that try to takes a little snippet from each of the eras from start to finish. It's just a literally drop in the bucket. So there's no way to overstate that. But Cambridge, to me, did one of the greatest jobs with candlesticks and in their designs of any company. They just really produced a lot of neat stuff. So I'm going to start sharing the screen, and let's see if we get this right. Okay, do we have some candlesticks up there? Okay, great. And what we're looking at here is one of the first batch. We don't know if it's the first candlesticks they produced, but in the 1903 catalog, there was 4 candlesticks that Cambridge produced in their very first crack at this. And 2 of them were crucifix candlesticks. So, but also have, just while we're going through, I have a little trivia question for the group tonight, and we'll give the answer later on in the program. But the trivia question is, what candlestick was the longest continually produced by Cambridge? So there's one candlestick that was produced more than any other long one. And if you guessed this candlestick, you'd actually be close, kind of, except for the fact that I said continuous. because this candlestick was actually made for around 20 years until the early 20s, and then it disappeared for a while. But then in the 1940 catalog, they actually brought this candlestick back again. So just interesting. And this one was produced in opal, but they also made it in crystal. I'm not sure if there was anything else. So again, this starts it off 1903, and Cambridge really wasn't in the 19s, from the 1900 to the 1920 or late teens. They weren't really doing a lot candlestick wise. Here's a pair of near-cut daisy, the archfoot candlesticks. These also have the frosted flowers. That's something that Cambridge actually advertised, so you could buy these as well as other items too in the archfoot line, with or without the frosted flowers. It was kind of an extra little effect that they marketed. So, and then we get into the 20s. And in the 1920s, all of a sudden, and actually I should say late teens, into the 20s, because all of a sudden Cambridge discovered candlesticks. I mean, all of us, they just started producing and designing all kinds of different ones. During this time period, probably there was almost 30 new candlesticks that they came on the market. This is one that I think is pretty cool. It's a blown candlestick vase, and Cambridge made 4 different ones of these, different shapes, but this one was a little unique in that the base is also hollow. So this is hollow all the way down. You can put a candlestick in, or you can actually put a flower in it if you want, or whatever, and water. And that base that you see is hollow. The other ones that they did were just a flat base, but so this one was a little unique, and this is azurite. So also in the 20s, wanted to show these. It's because it's kind of a cool. It's an unidentified candlestick, 9.5 inches. This is amber. It is etched 704, also known as Windows border. And we think that it's probably a version of the 226 candlestick, although there's no catalog image of this. So it was produced sometime between the 1921 catalog and the 1927, sometime in that time period. So also a candlestick that was actually had a fairly good run. This was actually introduced in the mid-teens and then through the mid-20s. It had a couple of different numbers, but when this was done in the early 20s, it was the 200-16, and these are in topaz. So, and they produced this in a number of different colors. They cut this candlestick a lot too, especially in the teens. Another one that again, we're still in the mid-20s, early to mid-20s. For the longest time period, up until a few years ago, this was unidentified. And Dave Rankin was able to come up with the number through a number of different, I'm not sure what, cost books and invoices and some other things, and it is a 715. The post candlestick is something that I attached to it. That's not a Cambridge term. There's no documentation on this as far as a catalog image or anything like that, but you can find this candlestick in light emerald, amber, peach flow with Cambridge etchings on it as well, 704, Clio. This particular one is frosted and it has the decal wear on it. The decal wear is kind of an applied decal, I guess you'd want to call it. In this case, it's on the bottom, so it doesn't show up very, very well on this one. But for those people who are interested in decal wear, I can kind of give you a little heads up because it won't be far away. The next March auction, there's some really nice decal wear pieces that are going to be in that auction. So look for those photos to come here in the January issue of the Crystal Ball, and they will be online. So. Still in the mid-20s. These candlesticks were the 437. This is the 9.5. They also came in 8.5 and 7.5 inch, the 438 and 439 respectively. And these do show up in the 1927 catalog. And then they were gone by the 1930. But they were introduced in about mid 1920s. These are ivory, and they have green and black enamel on them, and the hand painted iris flowers on there. Beautiful. You find this decor too on other things besides the candlestick. So. Now we're getting into things that in the late 20s, the 27, 29 catalog. And this is the 627 candlestick, a very popular candlestick. These is peach blow, and these it has the imperial hunt etching on it, and it is gold encrusted. Now, quick note about Cambridge and candlesticks that we've learned over the years is that Cambridge changed the design of a particular candlestick sometimes 2 and 3 times over its lifetime. And we just call them version 1, version 2, version 3, or what have you. Most of the time, they would just take the mold and kind of rework it a little bit, because remember, molds were expensive to produce. So if they could tweak it a little bit and remarket things in a different way, they would do that. Sometimes they actually had a brand new mold for a version, as we'll see in some cases. But this candlestick had 3 different versions. This is the one seen 90% of the time, but there are 4 versions. There are 3 other ones that they put the round ball instead of this faceted one, or instead of the decagon top, they would have a round top. So, but you'll see those later etched Firenze, Rose Point, Diane. But again, 90% of what you see is this original version that came out in 1927. So another thing that came out in the 27 catalog was the candle insert into the 4.5-inch swan. This is one of the few times they called something a candle holder. There are about 3 or 4 different things that they called a candle holder as opposed to a candlestick or a candelabrum or whatever, and this was one of them. They also used this in a couple of other things. This little insert that you see here, they used it in a rose bowl and some other things too as well. So it wasn't just for the candle, although it was introduced that way. And up to this point, everything was a single candlestick. In other words, Cambridge, up until 1928, Cambridge did not produce anything but a single candlestick. No 2 lights, no 3 lights. We always thought that was kind of interesting. And then in early 1928, they came out with another 3-light candlestick, and we're not doing those tonight, so I'm not going to get into it. But then they introduced and patented the keyhole design. And the keyhole, of course, is so emblematic of Cambridge. Non-collectors know that design. They used it, of course, on vases, on handles of other items, and of course, the candlestick. And they first introduced the 3-light keyhole candlestick. And that's what the patent, which was approved in, I think, 1929. And then, whatever reason, they did the 3-light first, and then 6 months later, they came out with the single light here and the 2-light as well. So this is the 646, got a decagon base. This is amber, and then it's gold encrusted Elaine etching on it. Now we're going to get into the 30s. Things really start cranking up Cambridge. They really are start to design and all kinds of really neat things. The tally ho line introduced in 32. This was one of their first candlesticks. There were 3 different candlesticks in that line, which are really cool initially. This is one which is the 140280. They only made this for a year, and then they changed the design, and they didn't tweak the mold. They did a complete new mold. For the redesign. Why they did that, I don't know, because I really think this is a cool candlestick. This is royal blue, and then it has platinum trim on it. So, and there's also a Beauboucher version of this as well. Also introduced in the early 30s, Everglade. All kinds of neat things in the Everglade line. This is the single candlestick, where of course there's more than one. I'm sure we're going to see some different ones tonight, and this is in forest green. But I think this is one of the Everglade is one of the most beautiful things Cambridge produced. It is just so beautiful the way it's done, and had to be difficult as far as getting it in and out of the mold. There's just no question about it. That couldn't have been an easy thing to do. So, of course, this came in different colors: amber, carmine, light emerald, and some others as well. So, all right, I couldn't help but bring this up because I want to talk about, even though there's a Beaubouchet on there, we're not doing Beaubouchets tonight. But I want to show this for a couple of different reasons. Of course, this was introduced here in the 33, I think it was, part of the 34 catalog. And when they introduced the candlestick, there were three different versions of the candlestick. The one on the far right is the petal top. The one on the far left is the one with the Beaubouchet. And by the way, Cambridge, when they use terms such as candlestick, candelabra, candelabrum, I was expecting to find some consistency. No, bad, my bad, because they were consistently inconsistent. They called everything by anything, and sometimes the price list description didn't even match the catalog and what have you. But the nude candlestick with the Beaubouchet, they actually called a candlestick with a Beaubouchet. That's exactly the way they termed it all the way through. So, and then the one in the middle, the two in the middle actually, are polished tops. So you have three different kinds. The reason I brought this up was because you see in the two in the middle, the one on the left here has a taller candle cup. The one on the right has a smaller one, and it's a little more V-shaped. These are the ones that were originally introduced. The taller one came a little later. However, they actually produced both of these at the same time. And just an interesting thing, and I'm not making any drawing any conclusions about this, but the taller one is the one image you find 100% in all the seashell catalogs and seashell lines. So don't know what that means, or again, I'm not drawing any conclusions about that, but you don't see the smaller candle cup versions in any of the seashell advertisements or anything like that. So, okay. Another thing was introduced here in the early 30s and 33 was the 3500 line, or Gadroon line. And they had a number of cool candlesticks and candelabras in them. A lot of them predominantly part of the ram's head decor. And that's what this one, they have the little ram's heads up here right next to the candle cups. This candlestick here, which is a 31 candlestick, had two different versions. This has a plain base, which they normally made for etching and decoration. The different ribbed base that on the bottom was normally the one we used to colors, but you can find this one in colors. It's known in royal blue and amethyst as well. And these are crown Tuscan, which are really tough to find, and then gold stippled. And this is actually, I call it the version 2, but it's actually the original one had the ribs in it. So I guess that's why it was version 1. I wanted to show these. This is a later Everglade number 10 candlestick. They actually made these in 3 versions. This one in forest green, but this is version 3. But the reason I wanted to show this one is because I wanted to show the next candlestick. And I'm going to scroll back and forth between this because this is really an unidentified candlestick. But it is this exact candlestick without the Everglade on the base. So we think it's probably a version 3 of the 639 candlestick, but there's a catalog image that's so blurred and so mangled that we really can't make that judgment yet. But you can find these in royal blue. You can find them in crystal and etch. In fact, we have a pair of these etched Delane as well. So I thought just another interesting thing. Cambridge is playing around with designs and all kinds of stuff. So another popular candlestick in the 30s, 1192. These are in Carmen. I just think this is a really elegant design. These also came with the Beauboucher version too as well. Getting into the late 30s, the seashell, of course, was introduced in the mid 30s, and Windsor Blue a little later. So they took the 4-inch ashtray and put a little candle holder in it and made them a candle holder. So that's what they did here. Pretty cool. And then in the late 30s, Cambridge introduced the star candlesticks. Actually, when they introduced them, this is another thing besides a swan candle holder. They called these, when they first introduced them, candle holders. Didn't call them candlesticks. Now, they changed that into the 40s. Then from there on, they did call them candlesticks. But when they were first introduced, just a little trivia there. And they made these in 4 different sizes, 2.5, 4-inch, 5-inch was what these are. And the big 11-inch star, probably the most gigantic, heavy thing that you can imagine that they made. A lot of glass went into that one. You mostly see them in crystal and moonlight, but you can find them rarely in amethyst, forest green, amber. If you have anything in that color, feel very fortunate because they are very, very tough to find, and other than the crystal and the moonlight. So, okay, one last line here in the late 30s. Martha was introduced. These are the 497 one lights, and this is version 1. They only made this version for a really short time. They must have had little problems coming out of the mold. But you notice on the comma on the right, or on the outside of the comma stem there's a little indentation. They corrected that almost shortly thereafter, and everything after that it's just a very smooth line. So they just cut that out of the mold and filled it in, and it's all a solid glass. So, and these are etched Delane. I have to throw a hurricane in there. Again, it's a one light candlestick, so anybody has hurricanes in there, they're certainly welcome to show. This is the 1604 that's done on the nappy base, and it's etched Delane. And you can find these in a number of different etchings, and Chantilly, Rose Point, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really, I think it's a really neat hurricane. So. Now we're getting into the late 40s. The 3900 line, or Corinth line, gets introduced. This is the 3968. There's also a 3967. The difference being is that the small part here, like on the right there at the top, on the other one, it's cupped down, as opposed to in this one, it's kind of flared up. This one, you'll see people kind of invert it like I've done on the left here, and it kind of turns it into maybe a comport, or who knows what they would use that for. Harder to do with the other one. And these will show up in the the 49 catalog. Interestingly enough, that's the last time the other one shows up. That this one, which is a 68, carried all the way on through the reopen period. For some reason, this might have been the better seller, I don't know. These are rock crystal engraved Granada. This was available with 2 or 3 different engravings, but this is the only one that I've ever seen over the years. So, okay, we're getting into now that 50s. They introduced the Cascade line. This is the 4067 Cascade candlesticks in mandarin gold. You can find this in late dark emerald as well. And crystal. I don't think it's in any other colors, but it might be. I don't know. I've never seen it in late pink or anything. So, and then we get to the reopen period. There was a couple of neat things, believe it or not, that were introduced here during this time. And the Sonata line was another new line that was introduced in. And Cambridge nicknamed it the oval line. And you can see the candle cups here kind of mimic that with the oval design in it. So, and these are the one lights, and these are in Carmen. They had two lights too as well. And that's probably the last known ones that new ones that Cambridge designed outside of the Sonata line. Interestingly enough about this is we don't know what these are. Collectors have called this the modern line, not to be confused with the modern line that came out in the 27 catalog, 29 catalog. But there are candlesticks. You've seen the candy jars. There's a bowl, kind of a salad bowl and underplate that all have this similar design. They're available in smoke, pink, moonlight, and crystal. There may be, oh, and mandarin gold as well. And I'm not sure about the candlesticks, but I know the bowl and the underplate are in mandarin gold, pink. So it's interesting that there's no documentation on this anywhere. And maybe there is somewhere buried in the sales receipts and things that we'll discover here at some point in the future. But an interesting one last little comment about these candlesticks is that this is the way you find these predominantly, but there are a couple little variations that we joke that maybe the production guys some days were just wanting to do something different. But those little tongs that are little points that come up from the candle cup, you'll also find them kind of bent in. And then the third version where they are flat out, just going straight horizontal. And there's examples of each of those in the museum. So. And that is it. Just a few other comments. Let's see if I wanted to make. One of the things that Cambridge, if a candlestick was a good seller, they would put it in different lines as accessory items. For instance, like that one hole keyhole candlestick. You'll find that in the Martha line. You'll find that in the 3400 line. You'll find that in the Caprice line. It's just they did that with all kinds of different candlesticks. For marketing purposes. So any way they could sell things, they tried it. So. Okay, that is it. I'm going to stop sharing. And if anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them.
Well, thank you, Jack. That was very inclusive. And I'm sure we all learned a tremendous amount about the single candlesticks. I guess one of the questions I might have is, I know you went through a couple of the lines, such as the 3400, the Gadroon, the 3500. You didn't say much about the pristine line, which there was an awful lot of things that I look at in the pristine line. Did they make any candlesticks in the pristine line that were singles?
A lot. Yeah, I figured we'd probably see some of those tonight. A couple of things that I think of right off the bat is the little ball, the round ball candlestick. That there was also a 2-ball and 3-ball, but there's a single ball candlestick. There's 3 or 4 that have kind of the circular stem in it on a base. But I figured there's so many things I left out. I mean, so many things I left out. So, and I already went almost 25 minutes. So,
Oh, yes.
I tried to keep it as short as I possibly could, give everybody time to go after things. So.
Well, like you said, candlesticks are extensive and there's
Yeah.
a lot to show.
But that's
So
good
with
that you mentioned that because Pristine is one of my favorite lines. It's so much, it's that Art Deco design I
yes,
just so love. And so I'm glad you mentioned that.
yes. So are there any other questions for Jack? Well, with hearing none, we'll start at the top and work our way down our list. So we'll start with Lyle and put Scott and Karen on deck. Lyle, you'll need to unmute.
And we're doing that. The pressure is on. I have a pair of ugly fish. Somebody told me they're both dolphins. I don't know. But one is a rather large chunk of glass. These are all from the Charlton division of the warehouse. So there's no girls on these two, but they're nicely decorated. They are probably seashell line, if I had to guess, thoroughly decorated with all sorts of wonderful gilding and painting. And they feature these ugly fish. No accounting for taste. I don't know how I ended up with them. I was collecting was the Libby silhouette line. This is a silhouette, the camel in a single candle. All of these I just cleaned the wax out of, so they're nice and pretty for tonight. Never use them for candle. This is another piece from the Charlton line. It's decorated on its face and on its feet. Of course, all of these have sisters that didn't make it tonight. Some of them are part of console sets. Another Charlton piece, of course. We got to have the girls in here someplace. And this is part of a 2-candle and Flying Lady Bowl set. And they are just drop dead gorgeous. That's about all I can say. This one probably will receive oh, I recognize that one from Mr. Filippini. This is the Windsor Blue set, Ken. Thank you. I am keeping them forever. So just so you know. I thought these were interesting, not because they're girls or anything, but because they look as if they're pair, but they are built differently. This one has the armpit is filled in as if it was pressed. And when you study these seams, it was pressed as one piece. This one, on the other hand, is obviously assembled from 3 pieces, the cup, the girl, and the base. The heights are different and blobbity blobbity, but this one was put together, this one was pressed as a piece. And this type of stem was used on a lot of the colored compotes that were the same colored glass from foot to seashell compote top. They were all pressed as one piece, and she got used as a candlestick as well. And they're different sizes when you finally come down to it. The heights are a little different sitting on a flat spot, but you got to forgive them for being handmade. The cups are slightly different. This one's got a very convoluted top. This one's a little flattened out, but not polished. I think the Windsor Blue, but anyway, that's my 5.5 pieces.
Well, thank you, Lyle. It's always a pleasure to see you and your ladies join us. And I thought that was really great observation that you showed us the difference of kind of the assembled process versus a press piece. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
And next, we will go to Scott and we'll put Robert on deck, please.
Thank you very much, Julie. We're going to start where Jack ended, and that's with the modern. Just showing one in real life. It's in crystal. I have pairs of all these, but I couldn't see any reason for showing both of them. And this is the straight versus the other ones he talked about. We also have the 627, and I don't probably, oh, there we go. I can show you that. That's with the 738 etching, and it's in ebony. And I think those are just absolutely just wonderful to look at. And of course, it wouldn't be us if it weren't for Cambridge. First one I'll start with is the what's called number 3669. It's the 4-inch. This one has the royal blue. I also have them in red. They also came in amber and some other colors, but it's the chrome base with the removable candle cup. And this one is now and may always be questionable as to who made the insert for it. It's very heavy, very large, but it has the 3400. Let me see if I can get that. Yeah. If you look real close there, you can see the Y of the glass. So it's the 3400 dart, which is, of course, what Cambridge did a lot of. And then the other thing that makes me, and Kathy allows me, is the number 65 9-inch Doric candlesticks. And this one is Primrose in version 1. If you'll notice down here, the extra insert. And then that's ebony. It was an ebony set that, rumor has it, Mr. Bennett himself took this old set, the old ebony set, and said, let's see what this looks like if you do the ebony or ebon treatment to it. So I happen to have what I believe is the only set of these that exist. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That is really interesting. I'm glad that you could point out too the differences between the two Dorics. And it's we see them all the time, but we never really, sometimes we breeze by it and we forget that they look a little bit different.
Yeah, and also the decoration around the bottom is different.
Thank you.
Yeah, in the version 2, it's a laurel wreath, and in version 1,
Egg and dart.
it's egg and dart.
Oh,
So, just
well,
if you
I
just
will be
remember-
honest.
If you just
I didn't pay
remember
that much
version 1 has one dimple all the way around it.
I'll be honest, I never paid that close of attention. I don't own a pair of Dorics. And so I know it's hard to believe I don't, but I don't. But I have learned something new about them tonight. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I appreciate that
You're welcome.
very, very much. And I lost my spot here. Okay, now we go backwards. So we have Robert, and then we'll put Mary and Jeff on deck, please.
Okay, I have a pair of Doric candlesticks and it has the laurel wreath around the bottom of it. I didn't pay attention to it before, but this also has a ram's head bowl that goes with it, the pair of them, which of course, we're not doing tonight. And I'll take the Bobuchets off, and I've got a wildflower hurricane lamp.
Robert, can you hold it closer to you so that we can see it a little bit
I'm
better?
sorry. I wasn't.
Oh, there
even
you
looking.
go. Much easier. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful.
They really are. I've got a pair of them. And then these are Cambridge arms, but I don't know what the pattern is here. They were given to me as a gift from the lady that did the book, Sherry. It was Sherry's. I forget what her last name was. But she gave these to me as a gift because she used several of my candlesticks for her books.
Can you hold it up again so we can see the bottom?
Yes, just a moment.
We could almost see the pattern. Okay, turn it the other way, please. Turn it. There you go. Okay,
You know what it is?
no.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yes.
Robert, is it an etching or is it an engraving?
It's an etching, it looks like.
Okay.
And then I thought this was a pristine item. And Jack shaking his head, yes. But the book just calls it a ball candlestick holder. The one book that I looked at, but I was just saw it pristine somewhere else, and it's got this candlestick holder on top of it. You just plug into it. And that I've got a pair of these nude tips, but they're not Cambridge, but they're from the Cambridge type of an item. But they're made by Farber Brothers. And I think that's 5. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Robert. And I know everyone now wants to know what that etching is. So you're probably going to have to give a photograph and then send it in to us so we can identify it for you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. It's always great to see you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mary and Jeff, and we'll put Barbara on deck, please.
Okay, so we'll start with this one. This is, let's see if I can hold it up so you can see it. The number 62 Everglades candlestick. Okay. You see it okay? It's hard to, kind of short, so it's hard to it's hard to show it. And then we have the number 78 in the moonlight blue. And this we only have one of, so that'll be one of the things that
We need a second one.
we need a mate for it. We found it in a secondhand shop and it was all by itself, so we couldn't leave it there. And then let's see here, we have this is the number 200/1 in Carrera. And unfortunately, when we got it, we bought a pair online, and one of them arrived broken, so we only have the one. So it's another one that needs a mate. And then one of our favorites is the Mount Vernon and Heather Bloom. I just think it just sparkles, the decoration, the cutting on that, the design of it. I just really like that candlestick. And then for our 5th one, these we just got recently, and these are the number 200/15 or number 47. I'm not sure which one it is, but in helio. And I think that's 5.
Well, thank you. And I'm sure other people will be looking for that moonlight blue Everglades as well. So I'm sure that someone maybe on this video might be able to help you out. I know a lot of people collect the Everglades or will be looking for it, but beautiful pieces. And I'm like you, it's so disappointing when you buy 2 and one shows up not very happy.
Yeah.
So beautiful, beautiful. And thank you always for sharing with us. It's so appreciated. So next we're going to go to Barbara and we'll put Tim on deck, please.
How do I get a picture?
There you go, Barbara. We see you.
Oh, you see me. Okay, so I don't see myself. How do I see myself? Can you see me? Can you
I
see?
can see you.
Okay.
Yeah. So hold it up just a little bit higher. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, I'm going to get myself into this. There I am. Okay, I can see myself. Okay, so this is most of mine are Rose Point. I do have Crown Tuscan, but unfortunately it's not at this location and I've been ill and could not get it to me. But what I have for the Crown Tuscan is the nude with the flying, but I have Beaubechet that are Rose Point to go with it. So this is just a plain one with Rose Point. And then I have 2 that are Ram's Head. This one has rose point for the base. And this one, I didn't know was ram's head because it was blue and I couldn't see the ram's head. And I was cleaning it today and I saw, oh my God, it's ram's head. It has no etching on it or anything, but it definitely, and I have a bowl. And for both of, I don't have a bowl that has a ram's head to go with this, but I have a gadroon bowl. But I do have a ram's head to go with this one in Rose Point. And then for my final one is a, excuse me, sorry. This is a Rose Point hurricane lamp with Bobèche and Rose Point. And then I have one that is really not Cambridge, but it's so wonderful that I just had to show everybody this one. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's a real Art Deco piece and it's a candle holder. Can you see that?
Yes, very nice.
It's gorgeous and I have no idea what it is, but I just love it so much. So I just wanted to show everybody. Okay, that's it. Those are my 5.
Well, thank you so much. And I think you found out you had a little a hidden gem there in your blue candlestick with the ram's head.
It was really, I got it as a set. I bought
Yes.
somebody at eBay as a set. Only it's not and it's a gadroon bowl, but it is not a ram's head.
Oh, beautiful. And I
color.
see you, and we see that you have a little Farber in the back and the backside too. So that's awesome.
I'm doing a presentation on that for the Miami Study Group. This is my newest collections. I have a lot all over the house. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't have any candlesticks in that, and that's my new thing now. I saw that somebody had Farber Brothers candlesticks. That's my new one. Royal blue.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. It's so great to see you.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
All right. Well, next we have Tim, and we'll put Gwinnell on deck, please. Tim, are you here? Oh, let me see if he's in my list. He said he would be here.
Tim is here. He's just muted.
I'm going to ask him to unmute.
Now, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All
Thank
right. Well, I was having computer password problems tonight, and I was about 15 minutes late getting on. So I'll start what I missed out on. So tonight I brought a candlestick in Everglade. And if you look in the book and the colors, it calls this Rose de Berry. And then it goes on to say that it was used off the peach bowl glass. And those are really tough to find in that color. I have that also in amber. And on light emerald, which I don't know what's better than light emerald. It glows so beautiful under the black light, and they're just really neat. And we saw a clear Everglade cutoff here a minute ago. This one's in the Windsor blue. And it's also like willow blue, excuse me. And then it's very close to moonlight, as we've learned in some of the demonstrations that the chemicals were the same. I have a milk glass dolphin candlestick with the Bobèche that also has the ring on the top that fits the Bobèche. A quick story to tell about the next one. When we got back from the convention this past summer, stopped in Indiana at an antique shop. And we're set a pair of these in the cobalt blue. And the gal that had them really didn't know what they were. And I called David Ray and I said, took a picture of him. I says, is it Cambridge or not? He says, absolutely, it's Cambridge. I said, well, they're only $50 for a pair. He says, you better buy them. So they came home. They added to the collection real nice. And nobody, I don't know, maybe it was shown earlier on the presentation, but I did grab this. This is the last one. You look at the light emerald swans, and they have the insert that sets down inside there. And that makes it a one light candle. And that's all I have to show you tonight.
Well, thank you so much, Tim. I'm glad you could join us.
Thank
And
you.
yes, it sounds like you got a great deal on those dolphin candlesticks. So good for you.
Hey,
Um,
Tim, I've got a question for you.
Yes,
Do I recall that the top of the dolphin candlesticks are ground smooth?
yes.
Okay, because they did reissue that version of the dolphin candlestick, but with the ground top on it, that pretty well cinches it that it's the real Cambridge one.
Super.
Summit did not do that kind of work.
Thank you.
Before anyone, you know, there's a possibility that could be a reproduction, but with the ground top, I think you're pretty safe.
Good, good. Well, thank you for your advice.
yes, thank you for that tip, David. I always have to take my notes to find new things that I haven't thought about before. So thank you for that. And again, thanks, Tim, for joining us and sharing tonight. It's much
Thank you.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to Gwinnell and we'll put Wendy on deck, please.
Good evening. Got the forest green, Cali lily. And the moonlight stars. And I've only got the 3 sizes. I don't have the great big one. Got the round and the pristine with the candle nappy in it. And it is the 6 inch. It's not the 5 inch. It's the larger one. And the square with the candle pocket. I did not bring Caprice.
Gwinnell.
I figured we saw those earlier.
It's all right. We'll let it slide this time.
The Caprice show. So
yes, it's all right. We'll let it slide, like I said, but great. Thanks for showing the stars. And obviously, is the large star on your wish list?
it is now that I know it's out there.
Okay, everyone, we're looking for a large star. We're looking for a blue Everglade. So we all should be taking notes for one another. So again, thank you for showing those items. I was happy that you showed the square. I didn't know if anybody would show that or not tonight. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Much appreciated. Next, we'll move on to Wendy, and then we'll put Les on deck.
Okay, this is one that I don't think has been shown yet. I don't remember the number of this one, Jack. This is in, I think, willow blue with a Clio etching on it.
It's an easy one to remember, Wendy. It's like the airplane. That's the 747.
Oh, okay. All righty. Then I have the Crown Tuscan that has the gold on the candle cup and also on the feet. And I was fortunate enough to get a pair of the Crown Tuscan dolphin candlesticks just Saturday at an estate sale. Mine don't have a Charlton decoration on them though, but I was thrilled to find them with the petal top. And while we're asking for wants, I need a Doric and Helio with the laurel base. So if anybody has a single Helio Doric, I would like one. And the last one is Primrose. I guess this is the 737. Yeah, and I've got a pair of these in Primrose. And that's it.
Julie, we cannot hear you.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I
Okay,
can hear you
thank
now.
you. Yep, sorry. Cat moved my box. So, yes. So anyway, thank you, Wendy. much appreciated, and we'll all be on the hunt for your Doric candlestick. And I do love that primrose color. So thank you for sharing that with us. So next we'll move on to Les, and we'll put Mike on deck.
Hey, thank you, Julie. By the way, Gwinnell, that 11-inch star candlestick was made only in crystal, so you'll be looking for a long time to try and find it in moonlight.
Well, I've got
But you never know.
I've got the crystal stars as well. So
Okay, well, they're out there, and it is like Jack said, it is a unbelievably heavy piece of glass.
that'd be huge because the 5-inch one is heavy.
Yeah. So I've got 5 that cover some different eras of the Cambridge production. This is ebony. Ebony was in and out of the production line at Cambridge, and this is one of the earliest, 1916 catalog with the enamel decoration that wasn't done for a very long period of time there in the middle teens. Sometimes these enamel decorations pop up, floral decorations pop up on ebony, but instead of a white border trim, like around the top here on the candle well, it's gold. And if it's gold, it's done by Lotus. And it's beautiful. The Lotus decorations, floral decorations are beautiful, but just for information, they were not done at the Cambridge factory. This motif was done at the Cambridge factory. The next one is one of the dolphin candlesticks in ivory, but this one, I actually bought it on eBay because I like slaggy glass. Many people do not. It's not going to show up well here probably, but it is just really opalescent, slaggy. And I thought, well, I really like that. Kind of here in the tail, maybe you can see that it's very opalescent. Kind of see through it, and wouldn't you know, there was one at the Cambridge show that was very similar. So I actually got a pair of them now that are really oddball as far as the coloration on this opaque color. Earlier, the discussion on the dolphin candlesticks, I'm always gun shy on the deep colored ones with the square base that they could be summit. So David, I wasn't aware that Russ Vogelsong normally shaved them off on top. Another thing is they often were tipsy. And that would be one thing I'd really compliment Cambridge on, because when these came out of the molds hot and warm, that how they were able to keep them upright is pretty amazing. I don't know if they hung them upside down for a period or something, but Summit wasn't nearly successful. They're more likely to lean one way or the other. Now, not saying some Cambridge candlesticks don't lean a bit as well. The next one is Pomona Green, and it's got a etching that's in the etching book. It's a numbered etching, and with the platinum filling on it. And the thing about platinum or white gold, it will lose its bright luster with time. Both white gold and platinum will lose their bright luster with time. And of course, the white gold, we've learned we don't want to polish that for sure, because you'll just polish it off. So this one is the one that's in Colors Book 1. And how do I know that? Well, I got it from the Vogelsong collection. It's got BV, if you can see that on the bottom, and all the pieces that Buzz Vogelsong, his name was Russell, but he went by Buzz with the club membership. So I bought most of the Vogelsong collection. Of course, he and Joanne, his wife, made Summit Glass and started their own glass factory. It needs a mate, but I'm sure I'll never find one. Then the stars. I'm surprised we've seen so many of the stars tonight. So I also have a 5-incher, but this one is in royal blue. And boy, these are really hard to find in color. Jack mentioned that. If that's your pair, Jack, and forest green, you're lucky to have them in the 5-inch. I do have a pair of these in royal blue, the small ones, in 2.5. But they're just really attractive in these deeper colors, but they just really made very few of them. And then the last one is, again, a lot of us do like the nude stems. This is with the Charlton decoration on the base. Let's see if I can. And they do not pop up very often with the Charlton decoration. Now, I did these in chronological order. The Charlton decoration was done in the 40s and the 50s. So these weren't the earliest of the Crown Tuscan, which was introduced in 32. And I think the candlesticks were introduced in the nude stem line 34, 36 in that ballpark. Now, this one has the taller candle well on it that Jack mentioned. It does have the petals on top, though, as well. So Jack showed the version that he had in his collection with forest green, with the tall one that did not have the petals, but they also made it with the petals on top, which is the case with most of them in Windsor blue as well. So, yeah, that's what I've got to share, Julie.
She was muted.
Julie, you're muted again.
I was saying the Pomona piece was outstanding, Les. Just beautiful in that platinum or white gold. It's really beautiful. We did have a question during your presentation of your pieces. Wendy wants to know, are the star candlesticks marked with the triangle C?
No, they are
I
not.
don't believe any of the star candlesticks were ever signed. They came later after, because those were introduced in 39, maybe something like that, which is at least a few years after they stopped signing things. So
I'm not sure on that, Jack. I think they might have been introduced a little earlier in the 30s, but they're definitely not signed. They're polished on the bottom. So there's no way they could have the C triangle in the C. Or C in the triangle, excuse me.
Triangle. There we go. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that question for us. It's much appreciated.
Can I ask one more about that, Julie? When you say
Absolutely.
they're polished on the bottom, are they like flat, ground and polished flat?
Yes. Totally flat.
yeah, they're as flat as can be. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, next we'll move on to Mike and we'll put David on deck, please.
Thank you, Julie. I picked a bunch of stuff, but I didn't know about the 5 limit. So on the first one, I think this should count only as 1. But look at the difference in these 2 sticks. One's skinny and one's fat. And I just wanted to show that. I'll just taunt Jack and tell him it's a new version, but he's not biting yet. Okay.
No, they are. That's actually, they made the one with the fat was the one that was originally introduced. In fact, you can find those in like Pomona and Bluebell in those late 20 colors. And some point in time before 1930, they redesigned that.
I'm not sure on that, Jack, because I've got them in Pomona green, one fat and one just
You
like
have one of each?
one of each in Pomona
So
green.
maybe that redesign was right in there during that Pomona time period then. So
Or it could be just the way they come out of the mold.
possibly, that's possibly. But I've looked at them and I think it is a different one.
Yeah, Les, I would say these are 2 different molds. So that only counts as 1, Julie. I wanted to show a cut cow lily. And what they do is they will cut the face of it, and then on the inside, well, it's on the back of it. They cut the back too. So when you look down in there, you can see the cutting on the back, and there's the man. Then they'll cut the foot too. I don't know, that's not a good look. Yeah. This one I always thought was cool. This is Yukon. And it just looks like a big old bullseye. And this is the candlestick. That looks like a skinny one, doesn't it, Les? Tried that. Lisa wanted me to bring this one. She loves this one. This is a tally-ho candlestick etched Vichy. So that's a pretty cool stick. Anything Vichy, grab it.
That's incredible, Mike.
This one, Les?
That's just incredible. I've never seen that before.
Well, thank you. I don't know where I got it along the way somewhere. I've collected Vichy for a long time.
It's mine. You just forgot to leave it at my house.
I thought it was, but okay, is that 3 or 4, Julie? 4? I don't know. This is too cool not to show. This is etched Lily of the Valley. So there it goes. I just think that etching really does that stick justice. So, all right, I'm at my limit.
Beautiful pieces. That, as everyone said, that Vichy is just outstanding, Mike. Beautiful piece. I think we're all going to be on the hunt for one now.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. It'll keep you active.
I'm sure.
You have a pair,
Okay.
Mike? You have a
I
pair?
have one.
Oh, shoot.
I have one.
Sounds like we need to find some mates for some candlesticks. Okay, next we'll go to David. Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome.
I guess I am the person who's responsible for saying that there should only be 5 candlesticks. But of course, I don't even remember saying that. But hey, it's we'll just go with it. So I've got a few here this evening to share. This is a 7.5-inch ebony candlestick. I know we've seen some taller ones, but this one has an iridized gold decoration that goes right around the base of the candlestick. It's really kind of cool. One of the more unique decorations put on glass by Cambridge, and it was really limited to opaque items of the 1920s. So it's kind of a neat decoration that we haven't seen yet this evening. I know Jack talked about these. This is Rubina. This is a candlestick that comes in 3 different sizes. This is the shorter 7.5-inch version. I was out doing a little shopping in Michigan yesterday and the day before, and there was a pair of these, and it was really you don't see Rubina out in shops very often. I believe this is version number 2 to the candlestick that Mike just showed with the Vichy etching. These came out of a shop in Michigan also, and they have kind of a unique cutting on the bottom. I think you can see that reasonably well. It's not one that I'm familiar with, but as far as a name, but it is quite unique on the base, and they even went around the top of the candlestick here and put little moons all the way around the center of the candlestick. I agree that this version of the candlestick is not nearly as attractive as the ones we've seen earlier that Jack shared and that Mike shared. This is kind of a unique candlestick in that we've seen an earlier version of this. Jack coined the term the post candlestick, but this one is cupped up at the bottom, almost like for ashes for a cigarette. You see on the bottom of the 1066 cigarette holder. I think I knew these existed, but this just happened to show up in a Fostoria collection in Michigan about a month ago that I got to preview. And the owner said, well, I guess you found my one piece of Cambridge. I said, well, yeah, there it is. Too bad it's not a pair. It's just a single, and it has a nice gold border etching that goes around the perimeter of the foot. And my last example is we looked at some nude candlesticks this evening. This is the Carmen top with the larger candle cup, and it does have the fully polished top on it. So it's one of my favorite pieces. The nude candlesticks are pretty outstanding with the colored tops on them, and they're quite difficult to find. So if you ever get a chance to find one or add one to your collection, don't pass it by. Julie, that's all I have to see, but I do have one clarification for Les. Russ Vogelsong did not polish the top of the dolphin candlestick. So if you find one where the top is polished, that would be the Cambridge one. And they can be tricky to distinguish. The cobalt color was fairly easy to make, and I've seen some pairs that Russ made that are pretty nice. They're not bad. And of course, we know he made the Rubina pair that are pretty outstanding as well in the dolphin candlestick.
But the Cambridge did
All
make
right.
them with the petals as well, like in Crown Tuscan.
Yes, they did. Yes. So, but I know that they reproduced it. I think all the reproductions I've ever seen, which what I think are some are cobalt blue. For some reason, that's the only ones I've ever seen. So the fact that when Tim shared with me that they were ground and polished on the top, I knew that Russ did not have that capability.
Ah, gotcha. The Summit also made them in a fantastic Rubina-like color. They are
Right.
just outstanding in color. I got fooled many years ago. Thank goodness the seller was willing to take them back because I bought them as Cambridge. But he did a really nice Rubina type color.
Yeah.
But David, I just wanted to add, since you brought this up, we've seen a number of things on the nude candlesticks. Both the large candle cup and the smaller, earlier candle cup both come with petal top and polish top. So I didn't know if that, just so people out there know that you can find both candle cups polished and petal both ways. So.
All right. Yep. Did we lose
Julie, you're
Julie?
muted again.
Oh, there, you got me? You got me?
Yep, we
Yeah,
got
it's
you now.
this new computer. I don't know where they put the microphone, but I think it's at the bottom of the computer. It's kind of a dumb design. So anyway, I do have a couple of candlesticks to show, and I'll see if I can't rig my computer a little bit here. So the ones I have to show is this is the ball version, and it is done in candlelight. I'm not sure. Can we see that? There we go. So that's kind of a nice little candlelight's something I kind of collect with my dad. So it's always nice to find a piece that he doesn't have.
Julie, if you can take your background off, it might
Yeah,
make it
I'm going to
easier.
do that.
Yeah.
There we go. Oops. So here we'll show this again. This is in candlelight, and it's just a little ball, pristine. The next piece I have is this is done in cobalt, and it's very worn, but it's the chintz pattern. I'm not sure how well that's showing. It's kind of hard to show it because the gold is so worn. But I have a console set, and this is the pair of candlesticks from the console set, but you don't often find the cobalt with the chintz. And the last piece I have to show is, I would call it a lunchbox special, but it's one of my prized possessions. It's actually done in Chantilly on the ebony, and it has never been filled in with gold. It's just the etch. So again, I got this at one of the Cambridge auctions. As someone told me, it's probably someone was going to do something with it, and it ended up in the lunchbox, and it was etched but never filled with anything.
Julie, is Chantilly on any other colors other than
Only
crystal?
on ebony and crystal. I don't know why, but they did do a lot of silver
Sure,
pieces.
sure. Ebony, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So ebony gold encrusted, and then obviously a lot of silver, but it was always done with silver based on matching the Gorham sterling silver pattern, which is called Chantilly, which is out there quite a bit. It's probably Gorham's most famous pattern as far as sterling silver. So but never any other colors. I never understood it. So it's either ebony or crystal and Chantilly. So that's all I have. So thank you. I can see something in the chat to see if anybody else has anything here. Just a second.
Julie,
Yes.
this is Elaine. I had sent you an email that I had some to show.
Oh, nope, I didn't get it. So I might have
Okay.
just lumped you with Jack. I
Sorry.
apologize.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, go ahead, Elaine.
Should I go ahead? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm not seeing myself. Just a second. Okay. Since they were talking about the large star, I thought I would show that. It's kind of heavy to hold up here. We should weigh it and see what it weighs. And I have a 747, and I'm only showing it again because I need the mate for this one in light emerald etched Clio. And I have a number 72 Arcadia. Jack says it was marketed as ice crystal, I believe. And a seashell crown with silver seahorse. One of my favorites. And my last one is a 628 crystal with Charlton. And the Charlton is on the foot, on the top and the bottom, which I think maybe is unusual. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Elaine.
Elaine, was that Everglade opalescent?
Arcadia.
Arcadia, excuse me, Arcadia.
No.
Okay, I kind of looked opalescent here on
Maybe it's
it's clear. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine, you want to show the 628 again, because that's the answer to tonight's trivia question. The 628 candlestick is the longest running continuous produced candlestick, and David's got an arm, Les has got an arm, they probably got it right. That was introduced in 1928 1927, right at the beginning of the 27 catalog, and it was in production all the way through the reopening period. It used extensively in Cambridge arms, but they also cut it, etched it. They just did all kinds of things with that. So that's the answer, and I hope some of you got that. So.
Elaine, could you show us that one more time and say something so your picture shows up instead of Jack's?
Okay. This one, can you see it?
Yes, I can. Thank you, dear.
Okay.
And
there's
that's pretty.
Yes. Well, thank you to everyone who
I have a
was
couple
willing
of pieces I'd like to show.
Oh, excellent. Great.
So this is my first one trying to figure out how it works, but I got a little bit of background. So my mother grew up in Cambridge, Ohio, Sarah Hessen, and she passed on her love of Cambridge glass to myself and my siblings. And I have two pieces. So this one here, how do I get it? Trying to get it so that, can you see it? Because I can't see it on my screen.
And yeah, okay, you lean back a little bit because you're real. There you go. Now hold it up a little bit more. Perfect. Okay.
Okay, so I can't see it on my screen. I can only see you. But here's what it is. This we had at our landfill in Vermont. We had a dump, and they had a goodbye store. And my kids always loved going in there because they could find toys. So I saw this piece in the goodbye store, and they said, "Well, this is a Cambridge piece," and I can't see my own screen, so I don't know if I'm showing it properly. But so this was a candlelight single light holder. And when we came to Cambridge, we brought it to Judy's shop and she looked at it and she said, I forget what she offered, but she said, "Oh, it's cracked. There's a crack inside," which she says happens quite frequently. People look at the candles burn down too low and they crack. And so I think she offered me $20 for it. And I said, for $20, I'm keeping it because it has a great story. So that's the history on this one. I was at a friend's house and she had this piece, which I don't, it's, and I said, well, that's Cambridge glass. And I told her about Cambridge glass. And she says, well, you should keep it. So I kept it. And I was able to find the Beaubouget. It's a notched Beaubouget that goes on top. But I don't know what this, it's silver inlaid. I don't know what this pattern is. Can anyone help me there? Am I getting it on screen?
Yep. Just hold it up a little bit more. A little bit more. There, stop. And tilt a little bit forward. Other direction. There you go. Right there.
So it looks like it has grapes and maybe holly berries or something like that.
Yeah, it's silver overlay, but it wouldn't have been done at the Cambridge factory. It would have been done
National.
a silver overlay there, and there were quite a few different companies out east that did silver overlay.
It's done by National and it's called Fruits.
Fruit, you said?
Fruits, yep.
Yeah.
Strawberries and berries and a couple other things in there. And they
So
were
who
like
did the etching? Was it a Cambridge etching that was overlaid, or was it all done
no,
at the same place?
no, it was, the glass was sold to National and they put their decoration on it.
Okay, great. That's great information. Thank you.
Gwinnell, where was National located?
I don't recall.
Something for us to look up.
There were like two different versions of Fruits.
Julie?
Yes.
Yes, Gary. On the show 3121 stem without the extended peg.
Okay.
I don't know, Mike. Am I on or how do you get
You're on. Lift it up, but you must, there you go. Perfect.
But
very pretty.
They're shown in either the 49 catalog or one of those, either a lens catalog or reprint, or in the 49 catalog, I think, without the extended peg. You usually see them with the Beaubouchet on them, but these didn't come with Beaubouchets.
Pretty. Gary, that one reminds me of the one that always comes with the tall stem with the silver base. You see it all the time. It's a very familiar silver piece.
Right, but this is all crystal.
Yes, no, pretty. Thank you.
And then it comes with a shade too sometimes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, thank you. And Stephen, thank you. And I'm glad you're a first timer joining us, Stephen. It's nice to meet you. We're a friendly group. So I'm glad we could answer your question about what that pattern was for you. And so, Rich, thank you for letting me know you had something to show as well.
Actually, I do. I typically don't show because most of the things that I love very much are loved by many people. So I usually just sit back and enjoy. But the first thing here is this is, I think, a 200 stroke 24 7-inch, circa about 1916. And it's just got such really nice lines to it. It's got a very spare, uncompromising silhouette, but still very beautiful. And then I'm surprised no one else had this, but this is my absolute favorite of all time. This is the Tally Ho with the nice chunky stacked base and a narrow little stem and a nice deep candle bowl at the very top. I love these in forest green. I hear they exist in carmine, so I'm always on the hunt for the carmine version of this.
That's true, Rich. They are in carmine.
Uh-huh.
And royal blue and amber.
Oh, now you got me started.
And amethyst.
Oh, and amethyst.
Yes.
And we've seen all those, so that it's not made.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, most of my candlesticks are the Doric column version 2. I've got that probably in half a dozen different colors, but we've seen enough of that. So that's it for me. Thanks.
I've got a few, Julie.
She's muted again, so Greg, just go right for it.
Greg, just go ahead.
All right. Well,
Okay.
There's been quite a few single candlesticks in search of others tonight. So I've got one of those. It's satinized crystal Everglade, one light. I've always liked frosted glass ever since I've been able to look at glass. So I've always found it very attractive. So I am looking for a mate for this one. And I do like the Lily of the Valley etching also, Mike, especially since it was, a long run. I mean, from the 20s and then the early 50s when they made Daffodil and Magnolia. That was the one light that they went with for those stem lines in the early 50s. Here's a royal blue that we just saw, the Tally Ho candlestick. This one in royal blue.
Beautiful.
One of my favorites this year I've got was a 627 in light emerald Diane. And this candlestick has a little story. I went to a flea market, and I think we've all run into this, where a vendor will have shoes and clothing and everything in the world, and then they'll have one piece of glass. So I was lucky enough to get this pair of single light gold encrusted wildflower. It's the only piece of glass they had. They had no idea what it was. Amongst all their boots and jackets. I have one of the calla lily candlesticks in ebony, and I think you can find them, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess you can find them in most of the Cambridge colors, but you seem to find them in the late emerald and the mandarin gold the most.
Greg, those were the only colors. Late dark emerald and the mandarin, because they were introduced late 40s, pristine line, but those are the only two colors other than crystal. So
but they were reproduced by Imperial in amethyst and green. They're very green, so you have to be careful.
And amber, those three colors.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, not verdigris, amber. You're right, Jack. It was amber and amethyst. Yeah.
Well, no, and it was like an army green. So there were three
Oh,
colors.
okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you, Mike, for showing the one that was with a cutting on it, because that was going to be one of my questions. Have these ever been seen with the cutting on it?
Yeah, there's they'll show up on a couple of different cuttings, Greg.
Yeah. Cool. My last piece is one of my favorites, and it's from the Pristine line. It's this really funky gull winged candlestick. This one's got rose point on it, but I think they came in a bunch of other decorations. If you're familiar with the Cambridge advertising, there's this really interesting, I guess it's from the late 40s, maybe early 50s. I'm not sure when, but it's like if Salvador Dali was doing an advertisement for Cambridge Glass, that would be the one. And it, like most pieces, most advertising, it shows a setting of Caprice or something on a table, or someone looking at a goblet and admiring it. This has this weird background, and it has pieces of glass just sort of like hanging in the air. And this one is in that ad. Just really, really strange. So if you get a chance, look that Cambridge advertisement up, because it's different from all the rest of them.
All right.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody. And I'm concerned about Lyle. Lyle, there's some aliens outside your window that are preparing to take you away from us forever.
We're signaling the mothership, Greg. They're way past due.
Okay. Be careful.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. Do we have anybody else?
Julie, I
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
tell Les that the National Silver Deposit was in New York.
Yeah, almost all those companies were either New York City or Connecticut. So thank you, Gwinnell.
Mm-hmm.
Is Steven still on, or did he leave us? Because he was the one that wanted to know, so we'll have to track him back down and let him know. I do not see him on. He must have left. Okay.
I got a couple I could show you, Julie,
Okay. Sounds
that we
good.
haven't seen. Apparently, you didn't get my email.
No, I must have missed you. I'm sorry. I rushed home from my
That's okay.
activity. All right. What do you got for us?
Yeah. Well, I got everybody else. You showed everything, but I have not seen this one yet. This is the 653 candlestick,
Beautiful.
which is kind of cool. I got a pair of these. Plus, I also got a candelabrum thing.
Jeff,
like
I
that.
think that's a reissue in that color. I don't think that's
Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, that's good to know too. Plus, I haven't seen one of these shown yet. I think Jack had a picture of one. Candlestick / ashtray.
Oh.
So plus I seen in the book they're stackable.
Yeah.
So otherwise that's about it. Everybody else, you showed everything else I've got. So
Jack,
thanks.
I have those little ashtray / candlesticks in forest green.
Oh,
and they stack beautifully
one?
up. No, the one he just showed at the end. Yep. I have those in forest green. I've got like 6 of them. And they stack perfectly.
Oh, cool.
Good.
I completely forgot about those.
Yeah.
I thought about candlesticks, the sticks. I didn't think about the little sweet little cups.
Jeff, if you could you show that other one again, the first one? So those have heavily been reissued by Mosser. So I think that's Mosser. There's been a lot of consternation and discussion about that piece over the years, especially the ones that are in light blue, if they might be moonlight, but I'm pretty sure that's a Mosser production.
Good to know. I still like them though.
If I may, on those small ones that Jeff just showed, I have found those, I don't know how many different holders that you can stack those on. They all have a spindle, and I have found them all the way from just a plain spindle to where there's a metal circle around them with like a bow, out of metal or out of wood. I probably had 8 or 10 different holders that someone was manufacturing for those
Yeah, good fun.
to hold the sets together.
I think Julie must have died, her battery must have died. Here's one for the crowd. I don't think I've ever seen a Mardi Gras candlestick. I don't think one exists, so if anybody ever sees one, let me know. And I thought for sure we were gonna see a single light japonica piece. They do exist, don't they, David?
They sure do. On that 628 candlestick you showed earlier, I've seen those, I think, in all of the colors that Japonica comes on, amethyst, carmine, royal blue, over the years. They're certainly not common, but they are out there.
So
Mike, I have an amethyst, a pair of them, but they were too deep in the case. I didn't want to risk chipping the enamel.
So would it be okay if we all came to your house to see them, Les?
Absolutely. A lot of you've already been to my place.
Okay.
Well, it looks like Julie has maybe needing to log back in. I'm going to go ahead. First of all, is there anyone else that needs to show a candlestick this evening?
David, I had one more to show, and
Okay.
This is a the willow etch, blue enamel filled on a plate, and you get all this good stuff in here. But when they did a candlestick, they didn't do any good stuff. So that's, I mean, if you see one of these, that is the willow etch, blue enamel filled, but they just didn't put any other pieces on it.
Yeah, that would have been great if they could have got the gazebo or some of the other decoration in there.
Something like this, yeah. Yeah, I would like to see that.
Well, next month, well, first of all, Jack, thank you for your program this evening. When we, as Jack mentioned, we started looking into candlesticks. We knew we were going to have to tackle that beast at some point, and we did try to come up with a reasonable division of how to present the program. So I'm looking forward to the next program, which is not next month. Next month is January. This was received very positively last year with favorite purchases from the prior year. So anything you purchased, and of course, no one here really knows when you purchased it. So if you have another piece that you'd like to share with us, we won't hold that. We won't need to see a dated bill of receipt to qualify for the program. So if there's a piece or two that you bought last year that you're super excited about and want to share with us, that would be great, and we're going to do that next week. And Jack also mentioned earlier before the program started, if you wanted to plug something like several people did this evening, something you're looking for. So we have a lot of single candlesticks out there that need to be mated up. So if you have something specific, and it doesn't always have to be just next month. I think anytime you have a desire, or you're looking for a particular piece and you want to put a request out for that item. All of us here, I think, are always out scouring the antique shops and the flea markets and the internet. You never know what people are running across in their neck of the woods, and they might actually have something that you've been looking for a long time. So if you have something if you're looking for and you want to share that next month as well, that would be great too. So think about what you bought this year, and this year is not over. So maybe some of you are getting some glass Christmas gifts that are going to be coming your way. So you can share some of those next month's Zoom and Tell as well. So Julie, that's all I have this evening, and
May
glad
I
you could
answer a
make it back
question?
with us.
In closing, as always, thank you so much to everyone that shares. I'm sorry if I missed you in an email to me. I got home very late today and actually had to run pretty quickly. So my apologies. And we hope to see you again in December. And we look forward to seeing everyone each and every month. And again, we are successful because you are here joining us once a month for this great program called Zoom and Tell. So with that, I hope everyone has a great evening, and I look forward to seeing all of you next month.